Welcome back to Space Thoughts. What I'm going to do in this video is talk about an issue that's kind of, I've been given a lot of thought to lately, and that's this idea of sustainability, but in particular, sustainability and the idea of what we call space control. Now, I see the term sustainability being thrown around a lot, and it's almost a catchphrase, and it's really the big movement right now for outer space. It's just sustainability for outer space. Back in, I believe it was in 2018, the UN actually, COPUUS got together and agreed on these guidelines for the sustainability of outer space. So my problem with it is it seems to be overbearing in a sense, and really eclipsing other important issues, other important concepts. And one of that is space control. Now, if you read my briefing letter, you see me talk about space control a lot. I mention it. I think I mentioned it a few times in some of these videos, and I don't think I really ever explained it for anybody on here in the video. So let me just explain the idea of what space control is. And you can actually go here, and there's a link to it. Space control, in geopolitical terms, is a capability of a nation to maintain freedom of action in outer space and to deny the same to an adversary should national interests dictate. So, in other words, if you look at some of the national space policies, they have this thing about the ability to, keep outer space free, free and accessible for the U.S. and its allies, and deny the same to an adversary. That's space control. And it's, and people say, well, that's militaristic, it's not peaceful. Well, it is peaceful. I mean, the whole idea is it isn't necessarily always offensive. It's more in line with, in my opinion, deterrence. But what about sustainability? We see a lot about sustainability lately, and it's we got to sustain outer space for everybody, and a lot of it's in the contract. Most of it is in the context of space debris. So really, when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about orbital space debris, and that's a huge hot button topic with a lot of people, space environmentalists, what have you. It's a very, very hot issue. Well, the whole idea, I agree with this whole idea of sustainability. We've got to keep the space open and free. However, we have to be realistic about this. And I'm a realist when it comes to this. In case you haven't noticed from some of my videos and some of my writings, ideology is nice, but I really like to look at things the way they are and call them the way I see them. And I'm going to do that in this case. The whole idea of my whole concern is sustainability is a worthy goal, but everybody has to be on board with it. And we have, back in November 15th, 2021, the Russian Federation demonstrated its direct descent ASAT capability by destroying one of its satellites, created a pretty substantial orbital space debris field, and a big kerfuffle in the meantime. Now, there was a lot of finger wagging, but nobody was talking about space control. Everybody was talking about sustainability. It was sustainability this, sustainability that. Okay, that I think that's a really good point. And now there's been big pushes about these unilateral bans on ASAT, destructive ASAT testing. I think I discussed that in the last video. So the whole idea is the idea of space control is getting lost in this idea of sustainability. Now, in my opinion, in order to maintain sustainability, in order to keep the outer space environment open for everybody, open and free for everybody, you have to have space control. But I don't hear a lot of talk about that. It's all sustainability. Yet we have geopolitical adversaries, competitors, whatever you want to call them, such as the Russian Federation and the People's Republic of China, who have arguably an effective hard kill kinetic ASAT capability. And that's very concerning, because you can't have, in the event of war, they're probably going to end up using these things if they're not properly deterred. And and this is the problem: unless you have deterrence to actually to discourage adversaries from using these type of weapon systems, you're not going to have, you're not going to be able to maintain sustainability. In other words, sustainability isn't something that's going to be agreed to by norms. I know there's a big push on right now with the U.S. to establish these global norms, and it's very idealistic. And a lot of NGOs are involved with this. The Pentagon's involved with this, Department of Defense, and these are worthy goals. However, they aren't going to be the do all and end all of sustainability. In other words, the whole question is will norms deter an adversary from using these types of weapons in the event of a conflict? And the answer is no, because they don't, our adversaries don't always follow the rules. So norms are great, but a colleague made a very good comment. Norms are great, but they're empty unless you can back them up with some type of, how can you say, leverage, or I would say deterrence. And right now, the U.S. is basically in a position where we can't. We don't have an active ASAT capability, as far as I know, unless there's something really classified in there. So in essence, when we have the adversaries like the Russian Federation using these weapons in space, even for demonstration purposes, they aren't really interested in sustainability. I think they made that really clear. They really didn't care about all the blowback and all the finger wagging that came out of that demonstration. They basically blew it off. So they really aren't interested in sustainability. What they are interested in is space control. In other words, how to deny access to outer space to its adversaries, U.S., NATO, and other nations who aren't friendly with them, who have space-based assets. So, in my opinion, I think sustainability is a worthy goal, but you can't ignore or cede space control to a geopolitical adversary. You've got to have space control has got to underline the idea of sustainability. Without space control, in my opinion, you cannot get sustainability. You cannot have active norms that are actually going to work. Now, why am I saying this? What are my underlying motivations? Really nothing. Just basically to get this out there and say that, because there are certain realities we're going to have to face a few years down the road. We have the People's Republic of China developing arguably a fractional orbital bombardment system that has a hypersonic flavor to it, and so are the Russians. We have these countries who are developing these counter space weapons that they'll most likely use when conflict breaks up between us. And I think it's not a matter of when, but not a matter if, but when. And we're kind of here sitting on our hands. I mean, the U.S. probably does have classified activity capabilities that it doesn't talk about, but the thing is, you've got to be able to show the other side that you have something that could hurt them really bad too if you do. In other words, something in order to maintain space control. And this isn't popular. I know I probably isn't going to be popular with a lot of NGOs and such, but who rely more on, well, if we get agreement, we have norms, we can eliminate this threat. That's baloney. It doesn't work that way, because, like I said, and again, you heard me talk about lawfare. People don't always follow the rules. We may handcuff ourselves, like I talked about in the last video, tie our own hands, but that isn't going to deter our adversaries or encourage them to do the same. So this whole idea of space control really is, I think, important. We really have to start feeding this fundamentally into what we're doing when we're going into these negotiations to produce these idea of norms. We have to have this idea of space control in the back of our mind. And really, we got to really start thinking long-term about this idea of developing some sort of anti-satellite capability that is, of our own, that we can use for hard deterrence. Nothing, you can talk about soft deterrence, or this layered approach that was popular with the 2011 National Security Space Strategy. And it's kind of being revived in a sense, in my opinion, but it really doesn't work. That really isn't deterrence. It's fluff, as far as I'm concerned. Hard deterrence. If you carry a big stick, people will be more likely to listen to you in the international arena than if you come in with open hands. It's just the nature of the world. It's just the way the world is, and we have to deal with it that way. So in my opinion, we got to start thinking more along the lines of developing these types of capabilities and capacities ourselves in order to effectively deter these activities, in order to maintain space control, and in order to achieve sustainability, because it's not going to happen on its own. I mean, there will be norms that will be negotiated and agreed to, and there'll be a lot of nodding their heads and congratulations, and the NGOs will be happy about it. But in reality, you're really not going to achieve true sustainability if you don't maintain space control. So that's my little video for this week. I hope you're enjoying the winter if you're in the northern hemisphere, and hope you're enjoying the summer if you're in the southern hemisphere. We're already almost to the end of the first month of 2022. So I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy, and we'll talk to you next time.